Perkins Online, the Thinking Person's talk show. Now here's your host, Wilmot Mutty Perkins.
Good morning and welcome once again to Perkins Online. I have to begin this morning with an apology. An apology to the Gleaner. Yesterday, the Gleaner had a headline on its front page. The top of the front page, Wilmot strangled. And as against the observers, Wilmot strangled with a question mark. One was critical of the Gleaner because the issue of the strangulation had not been determined by the pathologists. The Gleaner said it had got this information from a senior police officer. Well, it turns out that the Gleaner was absolutely right. That is assuming that the pathologists, even at this point, know what they're talking about. Maybe the criticism that one is to make of the Gleaner this morning is that they ought to have repeated that headline with about 3 exclamation marks following it. Anyway, the headline this morning in both papers, I believe, is "It was murder." What is the Observer saying? It's murder. It's murder. The Gleaner, it was murder! Exclamation mark. Well, that is what the pathologists are now saying. It does seem a little strange, though, how this thing has been handled. First of all, we were told on Tuesday, was it, that the result of the post-mortem examination, which had been carried out on Monday, was inconclusive. Then that night, at about 9:30, the police summoned a press conference, at which it was disclosed that the circumstances of Mr. Wilmot's death were suspicious. And then yesterday, Thursday, the police have come out with information coming out of the post-mortem. Now, it isn't clear whether another post-mortem was done or another examination by pathologists, or we're told that it is not true that an American pathologist was brought in. But somehow the pathologists have turned the thing around and have now come to the conclusion that the man was strangled. Now, at the bottom of the front page this morning, the Gleaner is carrying another story. The headline of which is autopsy report poorly handled. Autopsy report poorly handled. Now, I would question that. Was it the autopsy report that was poorly handled, or the autopsy that was poorly handled? Anyway, Dr. Garfield Blake, president of the Jamaican Association of Clinical Pathologists, said yesterday that the assessment on the post-mortem report in the death of Pakistan cricket coach Bob Wilmot was obviously not handled properly. Now, I'm not quite sure what that means. Was it the assessment? Well, I see that the assessment of the post-mortem report, the assessment of the post-mortem report was not handled properly. I'm not sure what that means. Was it the post-mortem that wasn't handled properly? And the evidence available, some of it not taken adequate account of. I don't know what this is saying, but clearly the wrong result was given. Well, the first report given, as I said earlier, was that the report was inconclusive. Now, how, in the light of the evidence that was subsequently discovered, evidence that the man had been manually strangled, how does that report, how does that evidence, which was there at the time that they were making that first assessment, and should have been obvious because lower down in this story, that point is raised. Anyway, let's continue it for the moment. Here's a quotation. The final conclusion of this being a manual strangulation, I would not expect the first word to be inconclusive, Dr. Blake told the Gleaner. The impression that is being created here is that there is some kind of inadequacy in the way the postmortem was done. And you know, is this new? Is this new? I suspect that Jamaicans for Justice and the lawyers who participated in that what was the name of that fellow who was killed up there by Mona? And the case went to the Privy Council. I think Mr. Richard Small was the lead counsel in the matter. I strongly suspect that if we were to ask them, they would say that this is not the first time that a post-mortem has been badly handled in Jamaica. And maybe that makes, when you look at the low level of murder solutions in this country, maybe that is a contributing factor. Maybe what is happening is that our investigative equipment or investigative processes are not as efficient as they could be, and this is probably an example of it. And we heard last night in some of the discussions going on at the press conference that what was going to be done now to improve the situation and all sorts of things like this. And this reminds me of what has been happening generally in the World Cup, this World Cup, in preparations for the World Cup. You know, the streets of Kingston were in a mess. You know, garbage here and there, littering it. Other facilities inadequate, roads, hospitals, and so on. And because we were supposed to be having all these visitors, we were making all sorts of preparations so to impress them, so that, you know, we brought things in Jamaica closer to international standards for purposes of the cricket. And of course it was argued that when the cricket was all over, we would have these facilities to enjoy. But the same thing seems to be happening here. Pathological services, not pathological, post-mortem and all this kind of thing, seems to be quite inadequate on the basis of what has been happening in this particular case. And it seems, I don't know, it's most embarrassing to this country, I should have thought. We take a break, we come back in a moment. Okay, thank you very much. We've just had a call from an English doctor who says that he can help us with this matter of the post-mortem. We have him online. Hello?
Good morning, Mutty.
Good morning, doctor.
I spoke to you on Monday when I was discussing your legacy.
Oh, yes.
My name is Dr. Hall Jones, and I work
Doctor?
in England. Hello?
You gave your name?
Yeah, Dr. Hall Jones. Oh, right, you don't want to give my name. Okay.
No. No, I just wanted to hear what it was.
Yeah, Hall Jones. Dr. Hall Jones.
Hall Jones?
Yeah, Hall Jones.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, basically, I was bewildered to hear that they could not establish very quickly the fact that the late Bob Woolner had been strangled.
Yes.
Because the signs of looking at a body that had recently been strangled are very straightforward and incredibly easy when you're dealing with a Caucasian or white person.
I should have thought so, yes.
Now the first signs that are visible from the outside, before you even look inside as a pathologist, are little blood spots called petechial hemorrhages. Now,
give me that name again.
Petechial hemorrhages.
How do you spell that word?
P-E-T. E-C-H.
E-C-H.
I-A-L.
P-E-T.
E-C-H. I-A-L.
C-H. I-A-L.
Yeah, petechial hemorrhages. Now, petechial hemorrhages occur in a wide variety of conditions. They can occur from severe sneezing, severe coughing, or severe vomiting.
Yes.
And they also occur in meningitis.
Yes.
Okay? And what they indicate is a rise in the venous pressure in the head and neck.
Yes.
Okay? So if you can imagine, we've got two large veins on each side of our neck. And if they are compressed to a degree that the pressure rises very suddenly, then these petechial hemorrhages will occur around the eyes, around the mouth, and they are typical signs of asphyxiation.
Yes.
Okay? And in a white person, it's very easy to see these. Now, there are other forms of asphyxiation that are associated with medical conditions, such as a heart attack or a pulmonary embolus. That is when there is a sudden loss of oxygen and the effort of the diaphragm and the heart to beat to get blood into the right places also can raise the venous pressure.
Yes.
So if someone is described as having a heart condition, I can initially understand why there may have been confusion as to whether these petechial hemorrhages were due to acute asphyxia due to termination of the heart activity,
yes,
or lung activity, or whether it was due to manual strangulation. But that is the only point at which the confusion should have occurred.
yes,
Because very rapidly afterwards, an examining doctor would be able to see signs of bruising around the base of the neck. If it was a cord, it would be entirely around the circumference of the neck. If it was manual strangulation, then there would have been two semicircular imprints of fingers and thumbs which would go on each side of the neck. Now,
yes,
my recollection of seeing pictures of Bob Wilmot, he is not a small man.
yes,
So therefore, the pressure to be exerted to strangle him would have been quite high.
yes,
Which led me to conclude either the man was intoxicated or drugged prior to being strangled, such as using an acute anesthetic similar to chloroform,
yes,
and again toxicology would reveal that, or he must have had a cord applied when he was not aware around the circumference of the neck, like a garrote or something like this, a
yes,
tourniquet, which would have the same effect.
yes,
But those are the extrinsic, the external signs of strangulation. What I'd like to come to now is what a pathologist would have seen on autopsy, which would have made it not only obvious, but without any shadow of a doubt that foul play had occurred.
yes,
And this relates to the windpipe, what we call the trachea. The windpipe has bands of cartilage that go down and support the structure and prevent the windpipe from collapsing due to the negative pressure when we breathe in and out.
yes,
Under strangulation, those cartilage rings are damaged. And in particular, there are two structures in the head and neck which are regularly damaged during strangulation. The first is something called the cricoid cartilage, which is a lot thicker than the supporting bands, and damage or disruption to the cricoid cartilage occurs in strangulation. And the second thing is the hyoid bone, which lies just below the thyroid, and usually that cracks, that snaps in two when someone is strangled. So any decent pathologist, any routine pathologist who examines the head and neck of a potential strangulated victim, who we will have wondered about from seeing the petechial hemorrhages
yes,
around the eyes, would only have to look for two signs: damage to the cricoid cartilage and damage to the hyoid bone beneath the tongue. And having seen those two signs, straight away he should have they would have called the other forensic pathologist and said, look, there is obvious signs of manual strangulation, whether it be by an external cord or by other means.
Now, what do you think could have accounted for the delay in doing this examination and coming to the appropriate conclusion?
Well, I discussed this hotly with my relatives and friends here because I've given them the same hypothesis, and I said I could not understand why this information was not readily and immediately available. And I cast my mind back to the original police submission,
yes,
which was inconclusive. A bizarre term to use in the face of potential foul play. Motty, we have to look at the competing interests in this whole affair, what they have to gain and what they have to lose. And the only sad conclusion that I can draw, if we accept, and we must accept, that the doctors performing the post-mortem were professional, whose integrity is beyond reproach or question, one can only draw the suspicion that there has been interference from a higher authority to either delay or suppress that information until certain events have happened. And I leave it for your listeners and yourself to speculate what are the overwhelming interests here. But invariably those interests are financial, and invariably those interests may relate to the playing of matches. And again, I would not be questioning the integrity of the police, the Jamaican constabulary, or those tasked with investigation of this murder. But there are important questions as to why. I mean, when I rang you on Monday, I was concerned about the image of black people in the world and the position of racism. And it saddens me to think that when I get back to England, the people's impression of Jamaican pathologists and, more importantly, of Jamaican policemen will be they cannot establish within a few hours that a man has been murdered under their very noses. And that saddens me greatly.
I thought so. I thought that that would be an impression, drawn around the world.
It is entirely speculation. I have no evidence. But what is clear is that the pathologist would be able to establish at a very early stage that this man was strangled. So the question that has to be asked, when did they have that report, the initial report from the pathologist? What did they do with that information? And what interference, or what necessarily interference, what guidance was given to delay or suppress that information?
Yes.
And from whom?
Yes. And with what motive?
Exactly, because then you'll be able to establish exactly in whose interest it was to delay these findings.
Yes.
Because if one thinks now about the wider perspective and all the speculation about gambling and everything else, one could argue, and this is entirely hypothetical again, I preface my comments by saying I have no evidence for what I'm about to say, but let us just say Bob Woolman knew that there may have been some issues regarding the Pakistan-Ireland game. Let's just say for the sake of argument. I apologize if I am impugning the integrity of the Pakistan team unreservedly, but I am entitled, like everyone else, to speculate. So let us say something might have not been right regarding the playing of that game. And let us just argue, taking this a stage further, that perhaps a revelation was going to occur that would shed light on those matters. It would be in the interest of some perverse organization to silence that revelation. And then, having silenced that revelation, one has to ask, in whose interest taking the life of a very respected member of sport, in whose interest? And the only sad conclusion I can think of, it was in the interest, if we are to believe the speculation about the bookmakers and the gambling, it could only be in their interest to suppress any prospect of revenue.
Or in the interest of somebody involved in the
in the World Cup.
In the World Cup.
Well, absolutely, because I am again surprised that we have not cancelled the whole tournament.
Yes.
Something as serious as murder occurring in a tournament, I think they should have cancelled the tournament and said, look, until we can assure people of the security, until we can identify who has been responsible, the World Cup has finished, until we can sort this out. And I understand there are millions of dollars invested in various islands, but at the end of the day, what price a human life? Are we really saying that...
Hold on just a minute for me, please. Okay, thank you very much. We're back with you, Doctor.
Hello there.
Look here, I'm being told by my technicians and producer that the quality of the output, the broadcast, was not very good.
Oh, yes.
Because of the line quality.
This sounds a lot better now.
Yes, it is. Now, may I therefore ask you to go over as briefly as possible?
Yes, indeed.
The
physical signs of strangulation.
Yes, the physical signs of manual strangulation.
Right. Looking at the outside, of the face, there are little dark red spots called petechial hemorrhages.
Yes.
Which occur in what we call showers around the eyes and around the mouth in cases where the pressure in the venous system has been raised very rapidly, what we call acutely. Those are the first obvious signs. The second signs which one would be able to establish at autopsy include damage to the rings, the bands of cartilage, they're like rings, which support the windpipe through its entirety. And there's a particular one called the cricoid cartilage, and there's also a small bone called the hyoid bone, which usually snaps with the hangman's noose.
Yes.
And easily and rapidly at autopsy, a pathologist who would see the signs of petechial hemorrhages around the face of the victim would then be looking at the windpipe to see if there were signs of damage to these cartilages or the hyoid bone.
Yes.
And then to take it a stage further, to rule out acute heart failure or a cardiac arrest, they would be looking inside the lungs for evidence of foamy liquid, what we call pulmonary edema, because that is a medical cause of petechial hemorrhages. These petechial hemorrhages can occur in vomiting, severe coughing, severe sneezing, or in meningitis. So it's important that there is a thorough pathological investigation.
Yes.
I remain bewildered as to why it took so long for the medical authorities to allow this news, or perhaps it didn't take them too long. I'm just wondering why it took so long for those very obvious and very easy facts to be established.
I mean, you'd expect that to be established within half an hour of
an admitting doctor on certifying death will have noted those hemorrhages. But the admitting doctor at the hospital would not have been able to ascertain.
Yes, because he wouldn't have done the internal examination.
Or to a foul cause, but very rapidly, having conducted an autopsy, I would say I would be astonished if a pathologist did not immediately, within a very short length of time, be able to establish that there was foul play.
Yes. Very strange.
I'm hoping that helps your listeners and yourself.
It does quite considerably. Thank you very much, Doctor. Nice hearing from you.
It's a pleasure.
Okay. All the best. What is the explanation of this? Is it that this was known from the start, from Monday morning when the autopsy was done? And if that is so, then what was the rigmarole about? Right? The police talking about suspicious, and later another press conference to confirm that the man had been strangled. Okay, hello?
Morning.
Morning, Mr. Risso. How are you?
Very well, how are you?
Oh, not too bad, thank you, but you must have been under some stress.
Not more than usual.
No, but it's very unpleasant to have something like this happening around you, isn't it?
You were referring to the
yes,
the murder at the
Pegasus.
It is unfortunate. I, of course, am non-executive chairman of the Pegasus company. So,
Yes.
so I'm not actually
Directly
on
involved.
site directly managing the property. So it's I think a greater tragedy beyond the hotel being the location of the
Yes.
incident.
Yes.
I mean, it's a pity that sport is no longer a game.
Isn't it tragic
Yeah.
that something like this could happen?
Yeah, I hope they do find, for the sake of Mr. Wilmot and his family, they do find the perpetrator.
Oh gosh, yes. I can imagine how much pain that wife is in.
Yes.
But she seems to be bearing up. She seems to be very strong about it. But what impact do you think that this is likely to have on the Jamaican tourism industry?
I don't think it'll be a negative impact, because this type of sensational or high profile murder, which really has nothing really to do with Jamaica.
Yes.
I don't think it'll hurt us at all. In fact, it'll create more publicity for Jamaica, because Jamaica has been throughout the cricket World Cup has been shown in a very good light, starting with the very, very outstanding opening ceremony. And there haven't been any incidents of problems with the cricketing Kingston. Not even really serious. But I think one drunken fan ran onto the field. When he thought the game was over. But considering there haven't been any knock wood.
But what about this sense of insecurity that people might get, that something like this might happen?
Well, it happens. This sort of thing has happened in the finest hotels throughout the world. The Savoy, they're usually things like this happen in top hotels.
Yes.
Where people important enough to be murdered. It was like you remember the program Hawaii 5-0, which was about crime in Hawaii.
Yes.
It didn't hurt the tourist trade, or Miami Vice. Where it's this is a different a different level.
But we are battling a reputation of having a high crime rate.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought we would have. We'd have suffered more harm if a group of fans got mugged on the way to the cricket. This is in a different plane.
Yes.
I mean, it's like when Sir Harry Oakes was murdered in the Bahamas.
Yes.
That didn't hurt the Bahamas, but if a tourist got robbed on Bay Street, it would hurt the Bahamas.
But look here, the issue of security. I mean, I gather that there were security people, including police, all over the place within the hotel.
No, there's very good security at the hotel in terms of not its cameras, but in the key system to get into elevators.
Yes.
But nothing can prevent someone who is registered using his key to go to the floor, knocking on someone's door and being let in.
Yes.
Because the system we have records which key opens which door.
Yes.
So my understanding is, and I haven't spoken with the police, but the manager reported to me that, and what I read in the media, no one had used the key to enter that room. Any key to enter that room subsequent to Mr. Wilmot going in. So, I mean, and there was no sign of forced entry, I'm told. So if someone knocks on the door and is let in, and
this would then be somebody that he knew.
That's what one.
That's
what one would presume. Yeah.
So then,
in other words, you can't protect. No hotel can protect against that. Yes, every guest has a right to go on the floor.
Yes. And And my understanding is that there were policemen on the floor.
I think they're security people. There was more security than usual for World Cup. And then you don't know what's going on in a room. I mean, security cameras are not in bedrooms.
Yes.
They're in
obviously
areas,
not.
Yeah.
But on the floor they were. In the passage.
Their security cameras are at the appropriate places. I'm told. I'm not supposed to say specifically where.
Oh, I see.
But I think they're a large volume of the recordings are in the hands of the police.
And one expects that whoever it was that entered that room, there should be a record of it.
Yes, well, the records show that no one had entered using, the key. It's an electronic thing which records who goes in. To tell you how well the system works, we used to have an ATM in the lobby, and someone's card was fraudulently used, and they were able to identify who had fraudulently used that card. I mean, it wasn't known that it was used at, it was the computer showed it had been used at one point at the Pegasus machine. And because of the security, they were able to identify who had actually been using this person's card.
Yes. May I ask you to hold on for a moment? Okay, thank you very much. We're back with you, Mr. Issa. Hello?
Hello, yes, I'm here.
Yes. Now, it's been suggested that this murder probably had to do with some gambling mafioso. Was there anybody staying at the hotel? I mean, I know that you had teams and officials of the Cricket World Cup.
Yes, and a couple of the sponsors had bought blocks of rooms. But we, as Pegasus, wouldn't really know of the individual guests' connections. From what I've heard from the manager, they have no knowledge of any, special persons of that sort staying there, and they wouldn't be able to they wouldn't have their identity anyway.
Tell me, what was the space in the hotel all taken up with teams and officials of the?
No, we made as a policy the hotel decided to maintain a number of rooms for their regular guests.
Yes.
Because we didn't want to squeeze out people who support us, throughout the year.
Yes.
And throughout the year. Because we have an opportunity of selling all the rooms for a somewhat better price for a week or so. That was a commercial decision that you have to, take care of your supporters who take care of you.
Yes, but I don't think there would have been much of a chance of the members of the mafioso being among those people.
And even if they were among any of the groups who booked or others who booked during that time, because not all the rooms were contracted to, in block.
Yes.
You don't, when you get a booking, you don't really know who the person is. And on check-in, you get the credit card and, simple ID. In Jamaica...
Well, you're talking about people here who have been, repeat customers.
Yeah, but not everyone would be a repeat guest. We had other bookings, internationally, through the booking systems that are out there on, on the internet or otherwise, through travel agents or online. So you really don't know who, other than the identification of the credit card, who the person is. It's not like in some countries, I don't know if it's still so in France, but it used to be where when you check into a hotel you have to give them your passport.
Yes.
And they photocopy, I think, relevant pages. But that has never been the case in Jamaica.
Well, I'm just wondering, what are the chances of the police catching up with the person who did this?
I would suspect that it would be all a matter of what they do with forensics in terms of fingerprints and what's on the cameras. That would probably, I mean, I'm only speak from the expertise of watching these shows on television.
Yes.
You know, no other competence. But it would really be a matter of that, I suppose. It's a tragic incident.
But from all the indications, it would be somebody who would have been staying at the hotel.
And who was known to the victim.
And who was known to the victim, yes.
That's a common sense judgment I've made. That's, you know, I don't claim to be an expert in the field. But it would seem so.
Yes.
And I have no idea what they have, you know, the hotel didn't review the tapes, the police took the tapes.
And in all likelihood, that person would probably have left the hotel and probably left the island.
That's a possibility. That's a possibility.
And the delay in coming to the conclusion that the person, that Mr. Wilmot had been murdered, would probably have assisted in, you know, made it easier for...
I'm not sure, because despite the long delay in the formal announcement,
yes,
from it happened, the police took control of the room and taped it off,
yes,
and had people doing things. I'm not sure, you know, what. I presume taking fingerprints and other samples. But it was treated as a crime scene from day one. They didn't just take you know, the victim away and then tell the hotel, here's your room, clean it up. You know, give it back to us. I'm not even sure whether they still have it, closed off and in their control.
Yes.
But it was from the very morning. They took charge of the room, so it was treated what I assume is as a crime scene from then.
Miss Arissa,
and they asked for the tapes, and you know, they got everything.
Yes.
From long before this last press conference.
What is the winter season looking like?
Well, it has been on the weak side, and the passport, in my opinion, the passport regime, the new passport regime in the U.S. is hurting us significantly.
Yes.
Jamaica's stopover arrivals in total in January were, call it even, down 0.5%. And in February down 4%. Now last year we had the benefit of Cancun being out of business.
Yes.
However, in January, arrivals from the United States were down almost 10%.
In January?
Yeah.
Arrivals from the United States
were almost down 10. I think it's 9 point something. Call it 10. Round it off. And in February, about 14%. And it was made up by arrivals from Canada being up 28%.
Due to what?
Being up 28%. And Europe being up 11 or 12%. Let me just turn this ringing off.
Yes.
I'm on another line, on the radio program. So that's why the total in January was about even, and in February.
Well, what is it that would account for the increases?
4%.
What is it that would account for the sudden increases, the sudden surge of visitors from Canada and from
Europe?
Yes.
It would be a result of all the sales and marketing efforts and I would say, and the expanded inventory in Jamaica of hotel rooms.
Yes.
And however, the cruise arrivals in January were up 5%, and that's almost all American. And in February, I haven't got the figure off the top of my head. I'm seeing if I can find it while we speak. I think it was up again in February, but I'm looking for that now. And that then tells me that the passport, we should have had at least a 5% increase in U.S. arrivals in January.
Yes.
So and if you take into account the larger number of available rooms, you could, say it should have been even more. So I think it would not be unreasonable to say that the passport has affected us to the extent of 20%. And I've seen a similar pattern in the Bahamas. And there was a press release from Carnival Cruise Lines which saying that their bookings are up 28% in the Caribbean.
Now, is there any evidence suggesting that we are making up for this with the...
cruise passengers increased 4.3% in February, so that's near enough what happened in January.
No, I'm thinking now of, is there any thing to indicate that visitors coming in for the World Cup have in any way compensated for this? May I ask you to hold on for a moment? Okay, thank you very much. So we're back with you.
Yes.
The World Cup people would have been coming in March.
In March, so we'll see that during March.
Yes, but what are your impressions as of now?
We didn't have that large an influx of fans. So I don't think it had the following that we had expected or had been anticipated. What concerns me for the industry is that the Canadian business sort of begins to wither in April and May.
The Canadian business
is heavily concentrated in the winter. It declines in April and May and through the summer. The European business is steady through the middle of the year and autumn. The U.S. business is year-round. Well, it's because of all the regions. So unless the U.S. can overcome, there's an enormous backlog in issuing of passports, and they're trying to speed them up. And most companies are continuing their passport promotions, trying to rectify it. But the cruise ships have really gotten a massive advantage, and the American territories, but that's a given. They didn't work to put us at a disadvantage.
Well, Mr. Issa, we're not benefiting from cruise shipping to the degree that we benefit from stay-over visitors.
No, and I've maintained for many, many years that we allow them to take advantage of us, and that's partly a result of the fact that the industry is highly consolidated. In the Caribbean, I think two companies control over 80% of the business, if not more. And that the island or the territories that receive the cruise ships have never been able to work together and put up a common front in terms of fees and other payments and other contributions. And even in the tourism enhancement tax, the landed tourist who pays room tax, GCT, and every other tax, pays, I think, $10. And the cruise passengers, cruise was given a discount and they only paid, I think, $2. And my information is that even that amount has not been actually paid in. they've been withholding it and talking about, we wanted to go to a contribution to upgrading the ports. But the airline passengers, if you look at an airline ticket, there are all sorts of fees in there for airport improvements, security.
Yes.
I mean, it's really a matter of a consolidated, really a duopoly, taking advantage of a fragmented region.
Yes.
In other words, we need in the Caribbean the equivalent of what the oil producers got when they created OPEC.
Yes.
Where for 50 years or more, the developed world was taking advantage of the producers, both by legitimate, negotiating means and by illegitimate means.
Until the producers got together.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I said it when we met after the 9/11 with the heads of government. There was a tourism meeting in the Bahamas with the regional heads, and the cruise ships were there. I said the same thing in front of them that I'm saying now. And I said, with respect, prime ministers, to borrow someone else's expression, if we don't hang together, we'll all hang separately. I think it was Patrick Henry. You were better at these things.
Yes. But look here, Mr.
And we are all hanging separately.
Look here, Mr. Issa. How is tourism doing in the Bahamas?
It's the same pattern as Jamaica.
Same pattern?
Same pattern. But let me, I don't like to just talk about negatives. The highways have taken a long time to be completed.
Yes.
But I've been spending a lot of time, in the hotels on the North Shore and driving up and down between Ocho Rios, Runaway Bay, and Montego Bay, and to Negril. I mean, it's such improved pleasure, compared, and you're able to do things you couldn't do before in shorter time.
Yes.
And I spent a day at the airport in the new departure lounge, a Saturday, a new arrival lounge. And it was wonderful to see visitors come out of the customs area and go to all the special lounges that hotel companies and others have, and be able to go to their buses without one person, one tout or one pimp harassing them. And then on the other side, where people just going to be met by individuals or getting a taxi, nobody hustling or pimping. One man said to me, a tourist, a visitor, I've been coming here for 16 years, I can't believe I'm in Jamaica. So some good things are happening. Arriving in Jamaica today at the Montego Bay Airport is a totally different experience than it was up to now. And then the drive is, it's a different world.
You also have operator hotel or hotels in Cuba, don't you?
Well, we're franchised our brands there. Cuba's industry had a bit of a decline last year. Their pricing has gotten a little high relative to some of the competitive territories, particularly Dominican Republic and Cancun, that are in similar markets.
Yes. But generally speaking.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, how is Cuba doing?
This year, because they don't do any business out of the United States,
yes,
they've had no effect of the passport situation. So this winter in Cuba has been not bad. I haven't got any statistics to see whether it's a decline from the previous year or an increase. But Cuba is doing relatively well.
Where do they get the bulk of their visitors?
Canada and Europe.
Canada and Europe.
And South America, a certain number.
Yes.
From the Spanish-speaking territories. But Canada and Europe are the two big markets.
So what I understand you to be saying is that the kind of benefit that we expected to derive from the World Cup in terms of visitors,
it didn't materialize.
It hasn't materialized.
There was some benefit, but it wasn't there were hotel rooms readily available in Kingston throughout.
Yes.
At all the major hotels, I think. And so that idea of that people would be staying in
Montego Bay.
in bed and breakfast. Well, the Irish stayed in Ocherias, but that was, because they wished to do so. I think it was probably a matter of the soul for the Irish team or the Irish fans to be there, and it was on the beach, it was a party, and
yes. But
and they really are. I mean, this division that we had in Jamaica, which was supposed to be rather boring, turned out to be quite exciting with the performance of the Irish and the banishment of the Pakistani team from the next round.
Yes.
I mean, I think it was everyone had said, "Oh, this is particularly interesting. West Indies and Pakistan will go through to the round of 8, and then with the unfortunate murder, it has.
Yes.
It has.
Would it have had to do with the performance of the Pakistani team?
I think that was probably part of the and the performance of the Irish.
Yes.
Who turned out to be quite tenacious.
Yes, indeed. Well, the West Indies had better be mindful of that.
Yeah, I know. I think they've got 3 wickets so far. The West Indies. Ireland is 76 for 3.
Who batting?
Ireland is batting.
Oh.
76 for 3 off of 20 overs.
Well, Mr. Risa, thank you.
It's always a pleasure speaking with you.
Oh yes, we must do it more often.
They both I think the authorities in the Bahamas and in Jamaica are in denial about the effect of this passport regime.
Yes.
And I'm hoping that these statistics, because the Bahamas, I haven't got their overall statistics, but our experience and the fellow hoteliers speaking to us are seeing the same pattern.
Yes.
And hopefully they'll recognize from these what the situation is, so that action can be geared to the reality of the situation.
Yes. But what action?
Well, we need to have an even more massive, maybe a joint promotion to encourage people and subsidize their getting passports if they book immediately to Jamaica or the Bahamas.
Yes.
And also be lobbying the American government to simplify and speed up and gear up the issuing of passports.
Yes.
Because they've had such a flood of applications that I understand there's a backlog of a number of weeks. So if someone decides to travel next week and they don't have a passport, they only have the choice of the American islands or cruise ships, or get in a car and drive across the border to Canada or Mexico.
Or Mexico, eh? All right, sir.
Anyway.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All
Bye-bye.
the best to you. Good. Okay, hello? Hello? Okay, let's take the break and come back then. Okay, thank you very much. We're back online. Hello?
Morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Yeah, I was just listening to you talking to that gentleman about the Canadian tourists is up here. I figure one reason the tourists is up here too is because we have the same problem as you guys. In Canada, you cannot go to the United States unless you have a passport. But you can come to Jamaica
without a passport.
Yeah, so a lot of the tourists that was going to go to Florida and had March break and all that to go to Florida in January, we couldn't cross the border without a passport.
Is this a new arrangement?
Well, it's been, it started January the 1st.
I see.
If you're in Canada, and even if you go into Canada and your stopover was in the United States and you come into Jamaica, you needed a passport. But if you fly straight from Canada to Jamaica, you don't need a passport. You can use your citizenship card and get in. And that's probably why a lot of tourists came here, because they didn't need to require a passport.
Yes.
But they require a passport to go to Mexico or even Cancun and all those places. They need a passport.
Well, I hope that the United States will remain strictly on the same line.
Yeah, because and another thing is, the Canadian is just backed up as the Americans is getting the passport out.
Yes.
If you want a passport now, they're telling you 6 months because so many people have applied.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, and Just one more thing I wanted to bring up with you, Mr. Perkins.
Yes.
The police and the ambulance and the fire trucks in Jamaica, do they have to drive around with the lights flashing all the time? Because whenever there's an emergency and you see a flashing light in your rear view mirror, it doesn't mean a thing to anybody. Because they're always driving with their lights flashing. So even if you can't hear and you see the lights, you think it's an emergency, you move over. But because they do it, just drive around, park their trucks with the lights flashing, and
I didn't realize that was going on.
Pardon me?
I didn't realize that was going on.
They do that. The ambulance, the police, even when they go to the station, you hear them pass you with the siren going, and you figure it's an emergency, and it's just 5 guys going back to the station. The problem is when there's an emergency, nobody moves over. I've seen the police come in with the lights flashing. Nobody wants to move over because they just drive normally on the road with the lights flashing. I don't know why.
Well, they're still breaking the law if they don't move over when the police...
Yeah, but the problem is the ambulance and the fire truck drive around with the lights flashing whether they're going to the emergency or not.
Oh?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
That's what they do in the middle of the day. They're driving around, lights flashing. The siren won't be going, but the light is flashing.
Yes.
So if you have someone who can see the light more than anything else, so he doesn't care because he thinks they're just going for lunch.
Yes.
So, all right then. Thank you very much.
Yes. A measure of the lawlessness of the country.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, good morning to you.
Good morning, Mr. Perkins. I want to ask you a question.
Yes, go ahead.
When there is a murder, so-called gunmen kill anybody. When you look at how the police preserve the crime scene, they put up the yellow tape, they do a lot of investigations and stuff like that. Shouldn't be that when the police kill somebody, that same method is applied?
Absolutely.
But Mr. Perkins, we are not seeing that.
No, that is not happening.
The police just kill somebody, they take them up and they throw them in a vehicle,
yes,
and they dismantle the evidence, and then afterwards they say police come from OPR, they're trying to investigate, but there's no evidence.
Yes, or the evidence has been altered.
So, Mr. Perkins, wasn't this something like this why persons like Mark Shields and others came to Jamaica? Wasn't that the reason?
I don't know if that was the reason.
Or a part of the reason?
Well, I should hope that it was at least part of the reason.
But Mr. Perkins, it is a disgrace. I mean, yes, gunmen are killing people, and it's alarming. But the police is doing the same.
Yes, police, and there are some people who say that, that they would prefer to take their chances with the gunman than the police.
And Mr. Perkins, I live in a ghetto area, and when you look at how the police come into the area and treat the people and kill the people and behave, how can the police ask for the citizens' support? How can the citizens of Jamaica love them? And when a police got killed, all kind of people come on the radio and they say that the police is killed and they're asking for sympathy and they're asking for evidence. So why is it when the police kill somebody, aren't these people somebody's child? Do they have persons that love them? Just like how the police is from a woman, and they have the mother and the loved ones. These persons can't say to the police that, you guys cannot do these things.
And the thing about it is that if one set of policemen come into your area and behave badly, right? Another set of policemen come in there, and you're going to hold that against them, although they are not behaving badly.
Mr. Perkins, let me tell you something. I don't know if persons share this sentiment, but police right now is Jamaica's #1 enemy.
You think so?
I'm telling you. I am telling you, Mr. Perkins, the
police are Jamaica's #1 enemy?
I am telling you. And you want to tell you something better than that? The other day, I see the Prime Minister and the Minister of National Security, along with the Commissioner of Police and the Chief of Staff, they met to come up with a crime plan. And Mr. Perkins, what I am seeing on the ground is just police killing people since that. So I am wondering if this is the crime plan. To unleash the security force on the citizens of Jamaica. Because it's not all bad people live in Jamaica.
No.
And when the police come into a community, Mr. Perkins, I tell you something. Believe me, I'm getting to hate Jamaica.
You are getting to hate Jamaica?
Yes, because the ordinary people and the poor people in this country don't have any right. And as far as I see, the government unleashed the security force on the people of this country. And they can't do it nowhere else more than in the poor communities. And the poor communities are the majority that make up Jamaica. No man, the government, Mr. Perkins, and when people talk for the poor or talk for persons that is killed, they say you're supporting gunmen.
Yes.
And you're supporting this and you're supporting that. So these people don't have a family. They don't come from a woman. Is only police alone mother feel pain to bring them? This can't be right.
No,
it cannot be right. Police can't just kick off people door and go in there and kill them cold-bloodedly. And when a police is there, they're asking Jamaica to have sympathy of the police. Police is not a human being just like another person.
Yes.
No man, they're trying to blindfold the society. Police is doing crime fighting and they're doing everything, but when they kill other people, what? They are not human beings. No man, something needs to be done. We need some international people to come in this country. We need persons that have influence over the government and the police force.
I think what you need, Mom, are the people of Jamaica standing up for their rights.
And they tear gas and shoot you down, Mr. Perkins?
No, but there are different ways in which it can be done.
They don't respect nobody, Mr. Perkins.
What you need is a government in Jamaica, in the first place, is a government that is respectful of the rights of the people.
But Mr.
And that sees itself as being there to protect and enhance those rights.
But that is not what we are seeing, Mr. Perkins. We have a government that has entrenched themselves into Jamaica, and whatever they do and say is law. And tell me, Mr. Perkins, it is not easy to remove them, because them have people in all strategic position in this country that is working in their interest.
You think so?
Yes. 17 years, Mr. Perkins, is not easy to move them. And you can see an election is aired, and you see the security force wiggle up themselves, and you see the things coming up now that election is near, and they're putting their people. You don't see the...
Well, Mom, the people of Jamaica...
Yeah? No.
Well, Mom, the people of Jamaica, the matter is in the hands of the people of Jamaica. They have the right to vote in elections, and they must use that right in order to enhance their quality of their lives, their opportunities, the respect in which they are held by authority in Jamaica. Right? Because authority is there to serve the Jamaican people,
They should.
That is what it is supposed to be.
That's what they should be there for, but that's not what they are there for,
well,
Mr. Perkins.
Then if that is not what they are there for, Mom, it is only the people of Jamaica that are going to be able to correct it.
This country is a disgrace. It is a total disgrace the way they treat people. Thank you, Mr. Perkins.
Okay, Mom. Okay, hello?
Hello?
Yes?
Mr. Perkins?
Yes?
I listened to your interview with Mr. Issa and his comments about the new highways going to Montego Bay.
Yes.
I agree with him entirely. And this is why I cannot understand why the government would like to change the original idea of building a highway from Bushy Park to Ocho Rios. Because the reason for a highway is to get you as quickly as possible from point A to B.
Yes.
And going around the old track and just bypassing little areas like the Bog Walk Gorge will not help, because we have built up areas which we would have to travel through. So I am asking that, like-minded Jamaicans like myself should make their presence felt and say to our government that not everything that they plan is in our best interest. And our best interest would better be served by continuing with the original plans to make the highway from Bushy Park to Ocherius through Worthy Park, which would open up a new area. And I am told that Mr. Clark at Worthy Park bent backwards. He almost gave them the lands that they would need for free. I am told. I cannot say for certainty, but I am told that he was very reasonable with allowing them to bypass through his properties. Now, the other thing that I cannot, it's the railway. One of the problems with the original rail system was that they had to pass through tunnels. Now, wouldn't it be much easier if they would build the railway lines beside the highways that they are constructing, which would serve a dual purpose? And can you imagine, Mr. Perkins, what it would mean if we could take, say, 30 containers by freight, by rail to Montego Bay at night, and take off 30 of those big 18-wheelers off the road? You know, the relief that the traveling public would have.
But so the government has gone and made an arrangement with the operators of the highway, right?
Yes.
To prevent the resuscitation of the railway,
Mr. Perkins, I'm not surprised.
Hold on just a moment. Okay, thank you very much. We're back here online.
We were talking about why couldn't it be possible that the railway lines be laid parallel to the highways so that you could kill two birds with one stone?
Yes, but the government and the operators of the highway, certainly the Highway 2000, and I believe also the highway that is to be built to Ocherius, they have agreed that the railway will not be resuscitated.
Mr. Perkins, I hate to think that what you're saying is the truth.
Well, that's my understanding of it, sir.
Because where there's no vision, the people perish.
Absolutely.
In another 10 years, the density of traffic will be at least 20% more than it is today.
Well, if it is 20% more than it is today, sir, we're not going to be able to get around very well.
We won't be able to
As
move
it is, we're not getting around particularly well.
From one point to the other. And I am saying, if the railways are utilized,
yes.
I visit Panama, and recently they instituted a railway system from Colon to Panama.
There's no question about the value of a railway, sir, but our government has gone against it.
Sir, I hope not, and I pray to God. And Mr. Perkins,
yes, sir.
Years ago, the Bauxite Company, when it came to Manchester, suggested that they would pump water from Porus to Mandeville. And the parish councillors at that time rejected the idea. They said, what would happen to the truckmen who are drawing water? And you see what is happening today?
Yes.
We are taking the water from St. Elizabeth, and rather than giving it to the people of St. Elizabeth, we're pumping it to Manchester.
Yes, indeed.
And the water from Manchester is going to waste in Clarendon. Now, sir, if you tell me that is proper thinking and proper management, I wouldn't...
No, I'm not going to tell you that, sir. All right, thank you very much. All the best to you. Hello.
Hello?
That's a voice that I have heard before, but I haven't heard it in the longest time.
Well, Mr. Perkins, if you won't call me, I don't know how I'm supposed to speak with you, sir.
If I won't call you? I am only too anxious to have you on this program. Miss Susan Goff.
How are you, sir?
Mrs. Susan Goff.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And
good.
Yourself?
Eh?
And yourself?
Well, not too bad.
Good.
What do you make of this, what has been going on at in connection with that killing with the death of the Pegasus? We know, what do you make of the pathology reports that we have been getting?
I'm really not sure that I can make much of a useful comment, in that I've really only heard what has been in the news and have no specific information. I think, the aim of a post-mortem and a pathologist's report should be to bring as much information and clarity to the cause of death as is possible.
Yes.
And that it should be done in a timely manner and in as open and transparent a manner as possible.
Well, you think that is what has been happening with pathology, with post-mortem reports in Jamaica for all these years? Patrick Genius, for example.
Well,
any great difference?
I think, Mr. Perkins, that our position has been frequently stated that we are very dissatisfied with the
quality
of the post-mortem reports that we have been privy to in the cases that we have monitored. And there are many problems within the system of the government forensic pathology department that we have spoken about frequently over almost the entire lifespan of our organization.
Jamaicans for Justice.
Yes. And I think one of the things...
And what has been done?
Sorry?
What has been done? What effect your protests have been having?
Apart from having families now having the right to have an independent observer present at the post-mortem, no changes. The morgue at Spanish Town remains in the deplorable condition that it has been for as long as we have known it. And we continue to have problems with the post-mortems that come out of that department. The length of time that it often takes for families to have a post-mortem done. Frequently it can take weeks. We've known situations where it has taken as much as a month before a post-mortem is done. The inadequate ways of preserving the bodies, keeping them separate, that when bodies are brought to the morgue at Spanish Town, they're often piled one on top of each other, so that there is the exchange of fluids. There is no provision for refrigeration at the morgue at Spanish Town. Not when the bodies come over, no. There is also... So
what happens when they're kept there for a month?
Oh, no, they're kept very often in the funeral homes that
I see.
Them up. But when they're transported over for that, on the day that the post-mortem are to be carried out, they are there for the day without refrigeration.
So why can't refrigerating facilities be installed there at the morgue?
Your guess is as good as mine, Mr. Perkins.
Maybe Dr. Davis will tell you, I don't have the money.
Well, Mr. Perkins, when you look at the money that we find for other things, I think that some money could be found also, for example, for an X-ray machine, so that the bodies can be X-rayed at the morgue to determine where there are bullets or bullet fragments. And this
I gather that there are cases of bodies being buried with bullets in them.
Well, certainly in the Patrick Genius case, this definitely was so. And we don't know about others necessarily because it is not routine to X-ray the bodies prior to the post-mortem. There have been problems in the past about having photographs taken at the at post-mortems, which should be routine. which should be routine.
Yes.
Otherwise,
but I gather the pathologists, some of them take exception to that.
Yes, we have had cases in which that has been a problem. We have had cases in the past in which complaints have been made about the independent pathologist making notes. The time spent on individual postmortems is very often inadequate. That for a complete postmortem, a proper postmortem to be done, you can't do that really in under an hour. And we know that there are instances where 5, 6, 7 postmortems are done back to back in a fairly short space of time.
Yes.
And we have had postmortem reports which just are not up to the required standards in terms of providing the level of information that would be needed. Another complaint that we have is it is not routine for the pathologist to visit the scene of the incident, and that in fact is an important part of really understanding how that person came to meet their death, because there are indicators on the scene which can help in terms of determining what happened.
Yes.
But that is not routinely done.
May I ask you to hold on for a moment? Okay, thank you very much. We're back here online. Yes. Mrs. Susan Goff?
Yes, Mr. President.
You were saying?
Yes, there are also situations in which we would suggest, and we do in many instances, suggest to families that they ask for an independent observer of a post-mortem. And one of the problems that we continue to encounter is the fact that the local pathologists are not willing to offer this service to families. This is a problem that we encountered.
When you say the local pathologists are not willing to offer that service,
yes.
Do you mean that they're unwilling to represent the families at the postmortem?
Yes.
I see. Why is that?
They have maintained over the time, as an organization, they say that they have no problem with persons, with members of their organization representing people, but there seems to be a feeling, and I heard the current president, reiterating this this week on a radio program, that they feel that somehow to do so would be to undermine the professionalism of the pathologist carrying out the post-mortem.
I wonder if the Wilmot family had representation at the post-mortem. It might have made a difference.
Well, it's one of the reasons why we advise persons where there are questions, that it is simply a good backup to have.
Yes.
Someone, a second opinion, being offered of a procedure, of findings that are seen or made during the post-mortem, where there are any questions.
So the I don't know, maybe, I don't know if confusion is too strong a word to be used, over the Wilmot case, insofar as the determination of a cause of death is concerned, is not, in your view, is not something strange happening in Jamaica?
Well, as I said, I can't speak to the specific case. I don't really know any particular details. I do know that we have had on occasion, in terms of the post-mortem report and opinion presented by the government pathologists, we have had independent persons who have offered differing opinions.
Yes.
Yes, that has happened in a number of cases.
Well,
in which we have been involved.
I hope that you think that we might in this respect, gain any benefit from World Cup then?
Well, Mr. Perkins,
maybe now that,
if we could, it would be very good. I mean, one of the things in observing what has been happening in this instance, I think that, you know, the Wilmot family are entitled to and should expect to get as much information as they can as answers to the circumstances surrounding Mr. Wilmot's death.
Isn't it awful what this woman must be going through?
I find it hard to imagine.
For she's deserving of our deepest sympathies.
And I think, you know, being at long distance can't help, because you are then dependent on second-hand, reports.
Yes.
But I think one of the things that we need to look at, and I heard, and I'm not sure if I'm mistaken, that there were plans to meet with the coroner at this point.
Yes, to determine whether the body might be released.
And one of the things that, you know, comes to mind is that is the kind of timeline in which a coroner ought to be brought into a case. Whereas we have instances where coroner's cases, it's, 7 or 8 years on, and a coroner's inquest has not yet been held.
Yes.
And you have to ask the question. We are seeing in this instance that it is possible to do it in what is a high profile case. But shouldn't we also be employing best practice for our own people?
Yes, indeed. I should have thought so. But this World Cup, these World Cup happenings are illustrating the point that we are more concerned about people from overseas than we are about our own people.
And I think that, we do need to use this as a sort of standard to which we should be prepared to hold our authority.
Absolutely.
That if we are prepared to bring in fire trucks and ambulances and put certain provisions in place at hospitals, etc., then we need to be prepared to do that on an ongoing basis.
Well, but Mrs. Goff, you know what the problem really is? The root problem?
What would you say, Mr.
Our minds, Mrs. Goff, are riveted to the paradigm of the plantation. Right? That revolution has not yet occurred.
Yes.
Right? There are some people who occupy great houses. They are human beings. They have rights. The law is there to protect them, etc.
Yes.
And they are respected in the society by authority.
Yes.
There are others who are just niggers living in the barracks, right? They're not even properly human beings. They have no rights, right? And it doesn't too much matter what happens to them. I mean, in the days of slavery, we could fully employ them, right? Nowadays, we can't employ them fully, right? We can't we have no jobs for them. And so, I mean, if some of them get rubbed out, so what?
Well, I think it is, in fact, you're right, Mr. Perkins, that it is, in fact, one of the fundamental problems that we have in our country.
Yes.
Is that some people are more important and more valuable than others.
Yes.
And therefore they are to be treated differently.
Yes.
To others who really have very little value. And we're prepared to determine those of little value on a number of bases. If they are poor, if they live in certain communities,
yes.
If they are perhaps mentally ill,
and if they wear the wrong color shirts.
If they wear the wrong color shirt, yes. It has been interesting for me, Mr. Perkins. I've attended 3 of the Justice Reform consultative meetings.
Oh, you did?
Yes, and one of the things that has interested me is the fact that people have raised the issue of how persons are dealt with within the justice system, within the courts, in an inequitable way. Comments being made about the way people are treated by magistrates or court staff.
Yes.
How they are spoken to and dealt with.
Yes.
And this is something that for me has been one of the most disturbing things that I have witnessed, is the difference in the way in which various magistrates deal with the ordinary person. There are those who I have seen speak in a completely appropriate manner and handle people in a respectful way.
Yes.
And there are others who it is painful to see the way in which they're willing to speak to the ordinary person standing before them. And this might be someone who is there, a mother accompanying a relative, a child who has run afoul of the law.
Yes.
Or someone who is coming to give evidence, etc. And for me, that really speaks volumes, that if you can have the person who within the courtroom holds the highest position, behaving in that way, to me it sets a tone.
You don't think that this is a deficiency of the media, or that the media are not reporting this kind of thing?
I think it would be very useful for instances, such instances to in fact be given to be highlighted in the media.
Yes.
I think it would be worth a great deal.
But at any rate, it is all based upon that paradigm.
Yes.
Right? And until we can get that out of our minds, this country is never going to be what it could be.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Mr. Perkins.
Right? We need to learn that human beings are human beings, whether they're rich or poor.
Whatever their color.
Whatever the color of their skins. Right? And if we're going to create a nation, it cannot be on the basis of division. Right? On the basis that some people are better than others because they have a different color, or they were born into more wealth or whatever. That cannot work.
And I think one of the things that I know I have heard you speak about repeatedly is the fact that very often we are prepared to say nothing because a particular problem doesn't at this point in time affect
Absolutely.
us personally.
Yes. Yes.
And it's as though we are waiting.
And by the time it gets around to hitting us,
yes,
there is nobody else to talk about it.
And I think we need to learn that lesson from history.
Yes.
I mean, in so many places that has been played out and repeated, where people have been willing to be quiet when others are being abused.
Yes.
Because it's not impacting on them at this point in time. And invariably,
yes,
it spreads. Because injustice, if we're prepared to put up with injustice in one circumstance, and what we are saying is we are prepared to put up with it in any circumstance.
Yes, indeed. Mrs. Gomes, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Mr. Perkins.
How is Mr. Lumsden?
He's very well, very well. I don't think he is at a cricket match today, but I think he has been enjoying.
Yes. And Mr. Goff?
He is at cricket today.
Oh, he's at cricket. Will you say hello to them for me?
I will, certainly.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
All the best. Okay, that brings us to news time. We'll be back here in another few minutes. Well, no, in about 20 minutes. Okay, thank you very much. We're back here online. And I have with me here an email that is supposed to have been published in the Daily News of London yesterday. That is before the police here disclosed that that Mr. Wilmot had in fact been murdered. As I say, published in the Daily Mail of London. And the headline says, murdered Wilmot, silenced. Silenced before he could expose match fixing. And what the story is saying is really quite amazing. It is quoting a Pakistani bowler. Hold on. A former Pakistani. Oh, well, hold on. Let me just. Okay, we come back to it. Okay, thank you very much. We're back here. Let me tell you something. You're not going to like this. I don't like it either. But I give it as I get it. As I say, this is a story that was published yesterday in the Daily Mail of London. I'm just going to read a segment of it for the essential segment. Former Pakistan fast bowler Sarfraz Nawaz on Wednesday night sensationally claimed that coach Bob Wilmot was murdered by gangsters because he was about to reveal details of alleged match fixing. Sarfraz, who works for the Pakistan Sports Ministry, alleged that while Saturday's World Cup loss to Ireland was genuine, last week's defeat by the West Indies was fixed, and Wilmot had discovered details of the scam. So what he's alleging is that the fixed match was the match which involved the West Indies. that credible? Oh boy. Anyway, we don't know, but I would tend. Well, I don't know. I don't know. Okay, let's get on with it. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Perkins. This is Miss Joyce Dice.
Miss Joyce?
Dice. I'm working at JUTC. From last year, the 23rd of May.
Yes.
I done miss the lady that I'm working with. When I go to work, it's 2 of us must work, and it's only me alone work until in the morning. When she come in, nothing. I go to work Sunday night. When I go to work, it's 2 of us must work, and it's only me alone work until in the morning. When she come in the morning, I went to throw away the rubbish. Coming from across the corridor, she meet me partway.
Hold on a little bit.
Yeah.
I am not happy with your calling this lady's name.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
And
she telling me how much she ate me, and I must come out her place and leave her place, telling me a lot of bad word and things like that. So we're saying to her that I can't leave your place unless you pay me, you know. She started to telling me about things that she hear that people saying about me and things. I turned to her and said, but I hear people saying a lot of things about you too, and I did not say to you or say anything to you. Anyway, she said I must repeat what I heard they say. When I tell her, she said I automatically fire myself and fire me and don't pay me. I go to the Ministry of Labor, and when I go to the Ministry of Labor, I explain and tell them what had happened. They say I must go to her from a 2 weeks of pay, dismissal pay, and 2 weeks vacational pay, plus a 2-day pay that I work. When I go to her this morning, she said she's not paying me no money. She only paying me the 2-week vacation leave money because I automatically dismiss myself. So I said I did not. I tell her bad word. I say, remember, I did not tell you any bad word, you know. I did not tell you any bad word. You say I must repeat what I heard, and I repeat it. You understand? She's saying that I shot. More time she giving me the food. She want me to serve the food them that is already left over. When I serve the people, the people them cry out that their belly hurting them. Then she said when I don't sell it, she said that I am short.
I'll tell you what, you know.
Yeah.
You said you went to the Ministry of Labor.
Yes.
Yes. Will you go back to the Ministry of Labor?
Yes.
Tell them what has happened now?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And ask them whether there is any way in which they could help to facilitate this matter? Right?
Yes.
Perhaps by having a word with this lady.
I go to them 2 times.
Yes. If not, I think you need to talk. You need to talk to a lawyer on this.
A lawyer?
Yes.
Yeah.
And sue them for the money.
Yeah, tell her I'm going to sue, and she say yes, when I can always go and sue her because she will bring everybody that every one of the co-worker to testify against me. Mr. Tweet, I did not root her, and I don't tell this woman no dirty word nor anything.
All right. You talk to a lawyer about it. All right? And if your co-workers are prepared to lie against you, right?
Yes.
Let them know that it may one day happen to them.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
All right? Okay, hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes?
Mr. Perkins?
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Well, sir, this story continues with this international death of Wilmot.
Yes.
Anyway, Mr. Perkins.
And you heard what they...
Yes, what you just read out of London. Mr. Perkins, I am calling to really follow up on a call you had before lunch.
Yes.
Who was talking about the police crime scene.
Yes.
You know, Mr. Perkins, you know, I really have something to say about this too, you know. Anytime civilians kill civilians, there's always a crime scene and it's protected.
Yes.
But when the police kill civilians, you know, the crime scene is just not there.
Yes.
So I'm always saying, you know, why are they trying to cover up, you know? Is it that they kill people willfully or what, you know? Why they always just try to get the person's body in a a police vehicle and just drive away it and,
Yeah.
And the crime scene is not protected. So what do you have to say about that?
Well, I'll tell you something. In the first instance, the fault is that of the policemen who do this, right? But more importantly, it must be the fault of the
police?
The police officer corps.
Okay.
Right? The management of the police force. Right? That if they know that things like these are happening and do nothing about it. Right?
Yeah.
And then beyond that, it is the fault of the Ministry of National Security and the government, right? Who also must know that this is happening because we have all been hearing about it, right? And if they do nothing about it, right?
Yes.
And allow it to continue, then they are the ones that are causing it. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
And then now there's the question of the courts. What do the courts do when they hear that this kind of thing has happened? Right?
I suppose they give the police the benefit of a doubt.
Give the police what benefit of what doubt?
About the crime scenes,
Yes.
But
hold on a little bit. Hold on a little bit. If the police, what interest would the police have in disturbing a crime scene if the story that they are coming with is an honest story?
That's true. That's true.
I should have thought that the man who would have an interest in disturbing a crime scene is the man who is coming with a lie.
Right.
And does not want that crime scene to exhibit evidence that would contradict what he's saying. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, well. But it seems to me to be disgraceful, sir, that the government of Jamaica would allow something like that to go on and indefinitely.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Mr. Perkins.
Yeah.
Another thing, sir, a quick thing. This thing with Tivoli Gardens.
Yeah.
And you speaking to Superintendent Yobit or something like that.
Hewitt, yes.
The spotlight for me personally is now on Tivoli. So I don't think
the spotlight is on Tivoli.
Right, Tivoli. So I don't think.
Why? Because an election is coming up.
Right. But no, because the spotlight is there now. I understand from reliable sources that they're going to move that operation into Central Kingston.
Which operation?
Start, like violence and thing in another GLP stronghold.
They're going to do that in Central Kingston?
Southside to be exact. A GLP stronghold.
But Central Kingston is a strong PNP.
Right. No, Southside to be
Southside?
exact.
I'll follow what you mean. But they already did something in Southside,
I know, but
you remember? We've been talking about it recently. Green Bay.
Right.
The men who were murdered.
They're planning something else.
The men who were murdered at Green Bay.
Of course.
Were from Southside.
Right. And no one.
Hold on just a moment. Okay. Thank you very much. We're back here online.
Yeah. As we were saying, you can see signs of it start already. You can see a little bit of harassment here, harassment there in the area,
Well, I don't know, sir. I hope that nothing of the sort happens.
I wish so too, and let us have a peaceful election,
Hopefully.
So that we can decide properly.
Yes. All right.
Okay, Mr. Perkins.
Thank you very much. Okay. Hello.
Hello?
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yes, I called you not long ago, and I would want to say something here again. I was a teacher who called, and I was very emotive at the time.
A teacher?
Yeah. But I have a quotation here. It was penned by me, It says, education is like the wind under the wings of an eagle, just as a love for a child shown by his or her mother is like the engine of a motor vehicle. And all that I'm saying, things like what is happening in Jamaica can only happen in a situation where the majority of the people are lacking quality education. If we had quality education, I'm very sure that we'd have turned our backs on many of those leaders who purport to give us good knowledge and good everything. I mean, the money that we spent on World Cup could have been better spent in educating our children in terms of learning the basics, the rudimentary skills involved in trying to understand things for themselves, able to read, write, arithmetic, all of those. And sadly, we just look at a one-day
that would have been a one-off $9 billion. That wouldn't have taken us very far in education.
Not very far, but at least it would have found us sort of foundation for us. Right, but we look at some one-day things, you know.
Look, sir, I have no difficulty agreeing with you. Education ought to have been, from the very start, a priority of the Jamaican government.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And it would allow us know that sort of base for which we could make sound decisions on our own, rather than relying on people.
But then you see
what they feel like or what they think is important for us.
In the politics of Jamaica, right, are the politicians. We have been told by the Americans that we stand in some danger of lapsing into a kleptocracy.
Yes, a kleptocracy, yes.
And there are some people who would suggest that we have already done that, right? Now, would kleptocrats be interested in spending money on the education of its population? Don't you want people whom you can samfy on?
Yes, certainly would want that to happen if we are in the business of taking and not giving back. Taking so much more that this country has been crippled.
Yes.
Right, economically. I have been reading a lot based on what you have told me. Go out there, read. That is how you're going to get information. And that is how you're going to get accurate information, by able to compare and contrast and see how it fits into your own, reality. And I've read about the CPI and how the Americans are moving away from that because it is not good at predicting, giving a very accurate output. They're looking at about a dynamic thing that is futuristic in its evaluation. And when I hear David speak so much rubbish, I have to wonder, where did he learn all these things? Why is he not looking ahead? He's talking about CPI. They have selected.
Well, maybe he is looking ahead. I don't know. Looking ahead at what?
I don't know.
That is the problem.
I don't know, because all of this is going to come around us. I mean, he's looking at it now in a, how much I can get in a avariciously manner. But if he looks quite far ahead, he would see that everything is going to come around us, and there will be nothing for him to gain and for them to steal.
Yes, well, the question is, every man needs to ask, when the thing finally crumples, where will I be? Where will you be?
Yeah.
Where will whoever be?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, Mr. Perkins,
it's all a matter of timing,
Yes, yeah. I have always revered you, and I'll always remind myself of what is needed in order to carry others ahead and to enlighten others. By just going out there and reading information, read the Time magazine, read all of those magazines, get different perspective on what is happening, listen to BBC, listen to a wide range of things, and be open-minded, don't be gullible. Because what upset me so much was the fact that they had a discussion program yesterday on Nationwide, I think it is, Fuse program, and they were speaking about students who violate some rules, and I'm saying they are not seeing a bigger picture. Many times the constitution of this country has been trampled on, and we are not pointing to those who should pay the price when they do trample on the constitution of this country. What we are going to target is some students who, by no means, their parents are not able to read information and comprehend it and understand what it is to observe rules and laws and all of that. And we're going to take out harsh measures on those people, and we let the politicians escape so easily.
Sir, I tell you something.
We're not seeing the bigger picture.
It is necessary. It is necessary to bring up children in a disciplined way.
Yeah.
Right? But I think you are right. I agree with you that the idea of discipline
start on the top
is, yes, indeed. It is not something that is attractive to this society. Well, young people don't see discipline being applied at the upper reaches of the society.
No.
Right? They don't see the government. When the former Prime Minister could tell us that the law is not a shackle, right? It means that what he meant was that the government was under, and he in particular, was under no obligation to obey the law.
All right.
The law was what did he call it? An instrument of social manipulate, whatever it is.
Yes. Social
right?
engineering, he said.
Social engineering.
If you're a mere
right?
specimens in our
Which means that the law was an instrument for him and others like him to use, right? To engineer the society in whichever way they chose to do it. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yes,
now, when children see and hear that as they grow up and see that kind of thing happening,
yeah.
Right? When children see, for example, that, or young people see in Parliament, the Minister of Finance, there is a bill, there is a law that imposes a limit upon the debt that he can acquire.
Yes, I'm aware.
Right? The national debt. He ignores that law, goes past what the limit that the law imposes, and then having done that, he goes to Parliament and gets Parliament retroactively to change the limit. Right? And this has been done over and over
again.
Right? Now that is what children are looking at in the society around them. Right? Why does anybody expect them to want to obey rules that are set in school?
Doubtless they'd want to do that. They want to, yeah.
Well, you know, people talk about that thing that Prime Minister Pattison, values and attitudes, right?
Okay.
And people talk about morals and all this kind of thing, right? Values and attitudes and morals are utilitarian.
Yeah.
Right? They are valuable to the extent that they work.
Are useful, yeah. To the
right?
They're useful.
If in a society you get punished for doing what you would want to call good, right? Then it doesn't suit you to do what you would call good. It suits you to do what you call bad, because you're rewarded for that, right?
Kasparov, the dogs.
I beg your pardon?
You know about the famous experiments?
Yes.
The dogs, Pavlov's.
Yes,
dogs. Yes, I know about
absolutely.
that. Yeah.
Right? So therefore, if we want our children to obey rules and to do what we consider good, then they must find that they're rewarded for that, right? And are punished for doing the opposite.
Yes, yes.
Right? But we are taking them out of the society to one side, right? Imposing rules. And when they do not obey those rules, we punish them.
Yes.
Right? Hold on just a moment. Okay, thank you very much. We're back here. Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, sir. Yes, so the way best way to get young people, and people generally, to obey rules is to let them see it as being in their own interest and to their own advantage to obey the rule, right? If you impose rules arbitrarily, right, and merely punish the breach of the rules when the people have no interest in obeying the rules, is to promote resistance.
Yes. You're doing it effectively too when you do that. And the arbitrariness does increase that level of resistance. Yeah. I read from all over. Especially I like to read these quotations by Eleanor Roosevelt, by Lincoln, and essentially the common thread that ties them together is that they respect people. They see a lot of potential in their people. I mean, these quotations were given long ago, and it applied to their people and their situation at the time. But among this was education was key as well. They respect time. They respect planning. And there's nothing that is going to be achieved without effective planning. And all of those things. So I have a book of quotation, and I start my class giving out couple quotations. You know, depending on the mood I'm in and depending on the situation that we find ourselves in terms of what is happening around us. I'll give a quotation relating to that. And I'll point it out and I'll interpret it for them, you know, and ask them to give their own views. So my class is not essentially just there teaching people this and that and that. What about life? I mean, when you leave here, you'd have to go make positive choices, you know, choices that will elevate yourself and your family.
Absolutely.
So, you know, that's a rounded education is what I always think of. And I got that when I was coming up. And my mother was a backbone in me, not taking up the bad things because it was out there. You see it. You could have been handed a gun and it could have led from there on to prison or GP or to death row. But we had a strong father and a mother who direct us.
Well, she made you understand that you had more to lose by getting hold of a gun than you had to gain by it. Right? Well, that's the way to do it.
And
not just go around bashing people. Right? But making them see the advantage that there is in abiding by the rules.
But it has been difficult following a narrow path because to be bad, as you have said so many times, is good. You know, people no longer want to form a line, no longer want to be courteous, no longer want to, you know, to conform to any rules at all. That will.
We are creating a society, sir, in which to be bad is good, and to be good is stupid.
Yes. That is the culture that we now have here, and it is carrying us nowhere. I can tell you that.
All right.
Okay then.
Thank you very much. All the best to you. Okay. Hello. Oh. Yes. Hello.
Hello?
Yes, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. How are you, Mr. Perkins?
Not too bad. How are you?
I was just calling to add my comment to the cricket situation with that gentleman getting murdered.
Would you speak up a little?
The
Speak up a bit for me.
I was watching. I'm calling regarding the gentleman that got murdered. The cricket gentleman, the captain.
Yes, Mr. Wilmot.
Right. I was watching the BBC News last night, and apparently, when he was in South Africa, there was a similar situation where there was gambling going on with the players, and he didn't know nothing about it.
Yes.
And that was one of the reasons why he resigned from that South African team.
Yes.
And the BBC News, every indication was regarding this betting on the sport. Because they have people from all different parts of the Cricket Association, from Ireland and England and, you know, all over the world was on BBC last night. And they're saying that it's a big situation, it's a big problem with the cricket community. You know? So he didn't know nothing about it. I don't think he did from the information that the BBC was broadcasting last night. The entire half-hour program was regarding this one problem.
Yes. But the story that is going the rounds is that he did find out about it And was about to blow
yes,
it.
that's what the BBC said. That's what the CBC said last night.
Yes.
That he found out about it, and you read something from the Daily Mirror saying that the match between the West Indies and Pakistan was thrown.
Yes.
They mentioned that last night also.
They did?
Yes, they mentioned on the BBC last night.
Oh.
But the one from Ireland, that was a genuine loss. That was a genuine loss where Ireland played better.
Yes.
You know?
Well,
So they probably figured they should have made up. But, you know, innocent man, that's how people get killed, you know, innocently. You know, and it's a shame. A man of that structure, and, you know, everybody admired him. He was a very outstanding person. And this is what happened to him. And another thing regarding on the BBC last night, they were mentioning that as far as the security, they had security cameras there, and they're not blaming the Jamaican police or defense or the security in Jamaica for not having enough security, because they're saying that he must have known whoever came into his room.
Yes.
And they're asking the hotel for inside and outside surveillance cameras. You know, so nobody's blaming the Jamaican security force or police force for anything. You know? It's just a sad case that it happened there.
Yes, well,
that's one
sad
of those
indeed.
things that happened.
Yes.
Could have happened anywhere. He could have been in Trinidad playing, and the same thing could have happened.
Yes, I suppose so.
You know? But it's very sad, very sad.
Very, very sad. And very painful, I'm sure,
I just want to wish
for
you. I
his
listen to your
family.
program all the time on the internet.
I beg your pardon?
And I listen to your program every day on the internet.
Oh, I see. You're calling from abroad then?
Yes, I'm calling from New Jersey. And so I always listen to your program. I listen to the program from when I get into work at 9 o'clock, which is 8 o'clock your time.
Oh, I see.
Until I leave at 4.
Yes.
So, okay.
All right, Mom.
You have a nice weekend.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All the best to you. Hello? Hello?
Hello, Mr. Perkins.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. I would like you to get in touch with the Point Hill Primary School regarding an incident that took place there yesterday.
Yes.
Having to do with a policeman entering the compound and discharging his weapon disinverted. But when I got there, he
Point Hill
Primary. I wasn't there when it started, but when I got there, he had locked himself in his house and was shooting sporadically until the police came. I was calling 119 from a little before 4:30, and up to 5 minutes after 5, I didn't get through. I called RGR and invited them to try to get 119 also. I don't know if they got through. But find out what happened for me, Mr. Perkins.
But look here. This is a policeman.
Policeman. He lives directly across from the school. Yes.
And he went into the schoolyard.
Yes, and started firing.
Shooting wildly.
Indiscriminately. Yeah.
Went back over to his house.
And locked himself
in the house.
And
kept on firing.
Yes. Indiscriminately, Mr. Perkins. I wanted to find out what happened yesterday.
But it sounds as if...
He obviously was having a problem. He obviously has a problem. Because I'm told that it's not the first time that he has done that. And his gun was taken away from him and returned to him. Yes, I wanted to find out.
This sounds like some kind of mental disturbance.
Yes, but I'm saying that he should not be in possession of a gun, Mr. Perkins.
What is the police station involved?
It would be the Point Hill police station.
Point Hill
police station.
And that is
St. Catherine.
St.
Catherine.
Point Hill in St. Catherine.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's try and get the
school principal if possible.
Do you have a telephone number for them?
No, I don't.
Point Hill Primary School.
Yes.
Primary School.
Primary School.
Okay, we'll try and get in touch with them. Okay. Hello?
Hello.
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Perkins. How are you doing?
Not too bad.
Good. I am seeking some advice. I'm seeking some advice. Tell me something. If a person have a property I buy a property and there is people around me, if I want to run the fence, does it compel that the person who is next to me to participate with it too?
In running a fence?
Yeah.
I don't think so, sir. Why?
Well, I just would like to find out because I have a fence to run, so
Yes.
notify the person.
Oh, I think you need to I think you should notify the persons.
Okay, but it's not a must that if him don't say, well, he's not going to join with me, it's not a must.
Not as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
But you need to be sure, of course, that
Yes.
has the land been surveyed?
Yes.
Oh, it has.
Yeah.
So you have a survey drawing.
Yes.
Well, I suppose it would be polite at least to inform your neighbors what you're doing.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes, you can might be the easiest thing to agree to where the boundaries are,
Yeah.
And for that purpose you have a drawing. Okay.
I thought it was law that both of us have to do it.
I am not. I have no knowledge of that. No. Okay.
All right. Good.
But you could check it out with a lawyer.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Hello. Hold on just a moment. Okay, thank you very much. Back here online. Hello? Hello? What is going on? Hello?
Hello?
Yes?
Hello?
Yes.
Hi, Mr. Perkins, how you doing?
Not too bad, how are you?
Why am I there, sir? Still sucking the salt through the wooden spoon. But
through the wooden spoon?
Yes. Mr. Perkins, we seem to have a little situation here, but I don't know what is going on. I have some beautiful things going in Portmore, like the roundabout I see coming into of the Mandela. Man, we have a beautiful thing going on there. Somebody who did it, and whoever did the job, good job.
Wasn't it? You mean
they fix up the roundabout,
planting trees and things?
Trees and setting stones, and the thing look good.
Lovely.
So we want to commend the person who did that. Right? But, a little further into the city, you have a little gentleman by the name of Stephen Shaw, who keep making me promises to get some potholes that we have over here fixed. And while we're beautifying roundabouts and doing those things,
yes,
we have to be careful that the citizenry don't lose their front ends and so on. There is an entrance, the first entrance.
But the more you lose your front ends, so the more taxes you pay. And Dr. Davis needs your taxes.
Well, I would suppose so, and I encourage every person in Portmore to...
He's saving money on the fixing of potholes, and he's getting more taxes as a result of the potholes being there.
Right. And, when you go into Greater Portmore, I'm sure the main roads belong to the NSWA. There is a large swimming pool. Going down that road, that boy, I tell you something. If you drop in there, you better make sure you have on your bathing suit and you can swim. The size of
I can understand that too. Because you remember that Minister Pickersgill, the chairman of the party, said some years ago that Jamaica would be pothole free by 2003. Right? Well, we can't, so they're not having potholes again, they're having swimming pools.
Oh, well, you see, with due respect to the minister,
yes,
I think he needs to see probably Dr. Davis now and those person about his hallucinating that he's going through, really and true, those comments sometimes really needs, some serious looking at, because the machines are here. And every now and then you will spot them in some area. If they do their thing in a systematic way, they would get through and fix the potholes.
Yes.
But I don't see where that is being done.
You mean the swimming pools?
Yes. The swimming pools that they have there.
Yes.
And another interesting thing is that the rains have been falling and our mosquitoes have been increasing in Portmore at an alarming rate.
Yes.
You know, I don't want to throw in the cold water on the World Cup because, you know, we're trying our best to squeeze every dime out of the few tourists that have actually come to this thing. But, you know, I've heard no word on the malaria thing since this World Cup thing started.
Yes.
And I would only sincerely hope that, you know, they are actually going around. Because apart from, you know, the unfortunate thing that has happened to that manager from Pakistan.
Yes.
Yes, Pakistan.
Pakistan.
I would sincerely hope that none of the visitors come here and catch malaria as well. You know, I really would hope not. Because I said the rains have been falling and we really need to get down on this thing. You know, there's a little comical thing to this World Cup, you see, Mr. Perkins. I have to share it with you. I went to the match between Pakistan and Zimbabwe. And, of course, the rains came down in the mid-afternoon. And I was very surprised to see...
This was at Sabina Park?
Yes, in this world-class park that we now have down there.
Sabina Park?
Yes. But, Mr. Perkins, the groundsman came out with sponge to try to drop the water off the covers.
Yes.
After rain. Today, I heard one of the commentators making a comment, which is really... That was a throwback to the 50s.
What was the comment he made?
That the groundsmen came on the grounds trying to suck up water with some defective, antiquated equipment and sponge.
Yes.
And no fourth rate or fifth rate cricket ground does that anymore. They have things they call super suckers.
Yes.
That will just suck up the water in no time. As a matter of fact, some of these people have even things that can suck up the water of the grass. So I am just amazed at how we do things here. You make this lovely stadium, and I mean, wonderful, because I love to go to cricket and I would want a comfortable stadium like that to sit in. But then also, if rains fall and you have a World Cup match going on, you should be able to get the grounds ready within a 10 or 15 minutes period after the rain have subsided. So what is the sense of making this beautiful stadium and don't even buy 2 vacuums to put in the stadium and suck up the water? And rainfall is a part of cricket match, so you know.
Well, it happens. It has to be calculated into the
You know, one would think that after spending so much money, though, you know, that must be an oversight on the part of somebody. You know? But Mr. Perkins, I beg of you, if you can get on to Mr. Shard and tell him, listen, I'm not going to give up anytime soon.
Yes.
And each time he gives me a promise, he better be prepared to keep the promise.
Yes.
Because, you know, I'm not going to sit down and allow the Sampai business to reach me.
Yes.
The people of Portmore deserve much better than they're getting with their roads that are in there.
What about the people of Jamaica?
Well, all over, Mr. Perkins, but you see, there's an interesting argument that I've been putting across, and everybody is seemingly trying to throw cold water on it, you see? I've said that since as we in Portmore have been forced into a toll situation, and the toll operators are in fact milking the citizens of Portmore dry to pay for this road that they're building all over the place. I'm simply saying to them, give us back 5% of that toll money for development in Portmore. Let us use that 5% so we can have our interior roads sorted out, our drains and gullies sorted out, because they're making quite a good piece of money off us. You know, and people will say the contract, this and the contract that, but so what? The government of Jamaica seemingly is able to manipulate the contract to their own purposes, because they've asked for an increase, which is due by their contract, if they find it necessary, every 6 months. That toll road now has been there a year, I think, and more. And they have not been able to get the increase that they have been asking for, and every time you speak about it, the minister quietly under his breath, he said, oh, don't worry about Portmore, man, everything all right. And that is the attitude that he has taken with Portmore and put up a toll road there. Now he's seemingly being able to. And what is interesting, it is that each time he opens his mouth and says, don't worry about Portmore, it is the taxpayers of Jamaica that having to pay something in the order of, I think, $10 million a month for every $10 that those people don't collect. off of that toll road. Right? So the money is being paid to them. So what the minister is saying, don't worry about Portman, man. We're not giving them the increase this minute. But yet the taxpayers of the country has been asked to foot this bill. And if he can manipulate the contract in that way, then certainly we can ask the toll operators for 5% to put back development into Portmore. You know, because really and truly, if you are sitting down and watching what is happening, it is obvious that the government doesn't have the funds to, well, I wouldn't say they don't have the funds because they've been able to build a fabulous stadium down in Greenfield and fix up the Sabina Park to the tune of some $20-odd million, I understand.
Is it 20-odd million? I think it was more than that.
A lot more than that.
I believe so.
But whatever they are doing, they seem to be able to do these things and in anticipation of. And now that the anticipation has come, I was in Sabina Park the other day, and incidentally to these ICC World Cup people, if you had dropped the price to $500 or $600 that Jamaican people could afford, I'm sure the Sabina Park would have been full.
Yes, but they were hoping to fill it with visitors from abroad.
Yes, to the point where the price on the ticket is quoted in US.
Yes.
Right? Quoted in US. and US is not a legal tender in Jamaica. Right?
Yes.
You know, we have a Jamaican dollar that is a legal dollar here, but what I'm saying, why have this price, the tickets priced so high, Mr. Perkins, that nobody's in the stadiums?
Well, because they miscalculated. They miscalculated. Right? They were hoping that hordes of visitors would come, and that they would reserve the seats for them. You see, they had to plan it that way, or they planned it that way.
Yeah, but you see, that is not happening. So, you know, take a quick change and deal with the thing in a way, because obviously, you know, back to depending on the locals to support this thing.
I see.
Right? And so therefore, you know.
And now the local support, well, they're clearly not supporting it.
They cannot afford it.
No.
That is the problem.
No.
Right? They cannot afford it. And I mean, a World Cup match, I mean, yes, if your side is playing, you want to go that particular day, but then there are other sides that are playing and they're playing some good cricket as well, so you want to go and, you know, enjoy the World Cup matches. You know, drop the price to where it is affordable and so you can pack the place up. The Chinaman tells you, quick sale, small profit. You know, as long as you're making a profit, it's good. But right now, you know, based on what I see happening down there, you have other thing, West Indies is playing today, and so the stadium is, you know, have a reasonable crowd, and they played one day, and so you might have 10 games playing, and only 2 days out of it that you know, have anything substantial. What about the people that have paid a high price for the concessionaires in the stands, who are hoping to make a return on their money, and I'm sure they had to pay to be able to sell anywhere within those grounds.
Okay. All right, sir. Thank you very much.
All right.
All the best to you. Okay, thank you very much. Back here online. Hello?
Hello?
Hello, yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Perkins.
Good afternoon, sir.
How are you?
Not too bad.
Listen, this Cricket World Cup, it seems to me that these people wasn't really thinking, or they just wasn't paying attention to information that is available to anyone. That cricket is not a game that pulls a lot of spectators at stadiums, you know. If you notice even the World Cup that was held in South Africa, there wasn't that many tourists in South Africa. So I don't understand how these people could have calculated that they were even willing to go out and say in Jamaica's case that they were expecting that we would have had 12,000 tourists coming to Jamaica for Cricket World Cup.
I suppose that the impression I got was that they figured that you know, a lot of Pakistanis would come and a lot of Indians, perhaps even more Indians.
Yeah,
and the English would come and the Canadians would come, the New Zealanders, the Australians, you know.
Yeah, man, but the research shows that does not That does not normally happen. People don't travel great distance to go and watch cricket. Not in great numbers, because the game is always being shown on the television. So people will sit home in their country and watch the game. You know, the other thing that I noticed that they did was they said that they were betting on getting a whole lot of tourists from India and business from India based, and this would be solely.
The effect would be to have a long-term benefit.
Yes, but they were betting on just the thing being the opening ceremony being shown on television. But the Indians didn't see it.
They didn't even bother to show it.
I really don't understand what is going on with the calculations of these people. Because
I don't know.
Hello?
I don't know. So maybe there's an element of desperation in it. You know?
No.
Maybe we need some good news to spread abroad in the country about developments to come and how the country is going to be sort of prosperous and all this kind of thing.
Yeah, but Mr. Perkins, who are they trying to spread that what I would call false news to?
Well,
it can't be the Jamaican people, because we are here on the ground. There is absolutely no tourists besides the few people from Ireland.
Yes.
And there's about 1,000 of them, I understand. There is no other group of people from anywhere else that has come here in significant numbers. When you go to the matches, what you see, the matches that has significant numbers of fans are the West Indian matches, and they are predominantly Jamaicans, right? I've heard reports coming out of Trelawney. There were no tourists down there. I hear the mayor saying that they had what they call it, were Jamaicans who made their homes available. And
the bed and breakfast.
Bed and breakfast.
Yes.
That was a flop.
I gather that has flopped completely.
They invited 500. I think they accepted 500, and I understand there was only about 40 to 44.
I'm amazed that there were that many.
But these people are amazing. I mean,
and then they went and attracted these, small business people.
Yes, the people that Mrs. Simpson Miller called
selling on
people.
The road. Yes.
And they brought them from all over Jamaica.
And brought them to New Kingston.
Yes.
And then there was something else in Allman Town.
What was supposed to happen in Allman Town was cancelled, and the Allman Town people and Campbelltown people was brought up to the village in New Kingston also.
Yes.
But there were people brought from all over the country, Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, and nothing was sold because there were no visitors.
Well, I tell you something. It is looking bad on them,
It's looking very bad.
If they can't plan that and make adequate assessments, and what are they going to do about the general economy of the country?
Well, we know the answer for that. I mean, we have been here over the last 18 years, and we see what they've done with the economy.
Yes, but they tell you it is now on the threshold of a new beginning.
Yeah, well, you see, Mr. Perkins, let me tell you something. You see, what these people in government don't seem to get and understand is that the majority of Jamaican people is not buying them little idiot explanations anymore.
You think so?
Not that I think so. I know so. Mr. Perkins, you're probably not getting around, on the ground as much as you used to once. But let me tell you something. There is a overwhelming number of the people in this country that is not prepared to accept those type of fool explanation anymore. You understand what I'm saying? And this foolishness about trying to use Sister P to walk around and say she loves people and she loves poor people. People not buy. Poor people will never buy that.
Don't forget that God sent her.
No, well, they have dismissed that long time.
Well, let me ask you something. The prophets.
Yes.
That she has around her.
Yes.
They couldn't have prophesied. You mean God didn't tell them about all these dangers that were lurking in the
Well, you see, these prophets are more concerned in getting rid of you, you know.
Oh, is that so?
Yes, because they think that you are the major problem between them and the fifth term.
But why?
I don't know. I really don't know. But they have obviously come to that conclusion.
Oh.
So they're there praying and fasting that your creator will take you. And that's
oh boy.
But you know, I'm amazed. I am really seriously amazed. Here are people, because I heard the main prophet on Cliff Hughes' program one afternoon saying that, listen, Cliff, I am not a pia prophet, you know. Which means that I guess he's saying that he's one of the super prophets.
Yes.
But one of his main prophecy is on you. And Mr. Perkins, I am convinced that you're going to be right here with us for a number of years to come.
You feel so?
I am convinced.
In the face of this prophecy?
Eh?
In the face of what this prophet had to say?
Yeah, man. The pia prophet.
Oh.
Because that's exactly what he has turned out to be. So we are expecting the election in July.
In July?
Yes, well, that's what he said. He said that a significant event will take place in July, significant national event. And knowing Mrs. Portia Simpson, who obviously is a superstitious woman, I am sure that she will go along with that sort of counsel.
Huh?
I said, knowing Mrs. Portia Simpson, who seems to be a very superstitious lady.
Why do you say that?
Well, just watching her behavior and her reactions and statements that she has made.
Oh.
For a woman who at this time, at this day and age, to come out and tell Jamaican people that she is appointed by God. And if they don't support her, they should, the Christian church, if the Christian church did not support her, they'll be beaten with many stripes.
Well, she may not be superstitious. She may think that you all are superstitious.
Well, I don't know. I think she's living a few years in the past. Mr. Perkins, I would say up to maybe the year 2000, she could probably con a few people with that sort of statement. Jamaican people are way past that state now, mentally. Yeah, man, way past that. You can't. People are looking. You see, listen, the people has learned so much from their experiences. You know, that you can't fool them with them little things there anymore. Yeah, man. I heard her telling the people in St. Mary that political leader said that World Cup was going to flop. And any political leader that says make a statement like that should not even be considered by the people. But it turned out that there was
no politician. That political leader could see better into the future than prophet.
No. It turned out that no politician at all beside her had used the word flop in association with Cricket World Cup.
Oh, I see.
So it seems that it is her prophecy that is coming true.
I see.
Yeah. But you know, I'm just amazed by these people and the little idiot tricks. It's like the traffic guru business. Mr. Buchanan says we have sent an emissary with the money. Traffic guru says the money was sent through the banking system from Jamaica, because that is the email that I heard read, and that is exactly the statement, the wording. And then Mrs. Portia Simpson Miller said it was sent by through the international banking system. So I'd like to know which one is so.
Well, I think the traffic guru said it was
they did use the word Jamaican banking system.
No, they said through the international banking system.
They said that?
Yes, that's my recollection.
Well, I heard Cliff use a nationwide reading an email, and they read it sent by wired.
Yes,
wire transfer through the Jamaican, through the banking system from Jamaica.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, well, that was the one.
Hold on just a moment for me. Okay, thank you very much. Back online.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man. And the other thing is that I remember during the early part of the Traffic Guru saga, When the time, you remember the couple of weeks that Mrs. Simpson Miller went into hiding? And she eventually, when it was made public that the president of Traffic Guru and another member of the Traffic Guru had flew into Jamaica and had met with her.
In her office with her.
Yes. Then Mr. Desmond Richards came out to say that yes, he has been speaking to Mrs. Simpson Miller, and yes, this is true that they had she had met with these two gentlemen,
and she was harming herself.
Yes.
In readiness for saying something about it.
Exactly.
Yes.
But not only that, he said that she had sent an emissary to get the invoice. That's the word that was used. The invoice, that she had sent an emissary to Europe to get the invoice. Yes, to get a copy of the invoice.
Oh, he said that?
Yes, he did say that.
Oh, well.
And now it turned out that I hear her talking about never seen this, what she now call agreement.
Yes.
She's calling a service agreement. So I don't understand. It looks like Mrs. Simpson Miller is a little bit...
A service agreement made between
Traffic Guru and CCOC.
CCOC.
Which is a bank account. These people are amazing, man.
Yes, indeed. Oh, Lord.
No. That confirms to me that Mrs. Simpson Miller and the rest of these guys, and you notice the guys that are the people that are associated with the Traffic Guru business.
Yes.
It is Mrs. Simpson Miller and a few of her choice confidants in the party.
That is true, you know.
You notice that?
Yes. Because Mr. Colin Campbell.
Yes.
It was one of those.
Yes. Robert Pickersgill. The baby.
Well, I don't know that Mr. Pickersgill had much to do with it.
Yes, man.
Except that he was defending it.
No, man. Mr. Pickersgill was in the midst of it.
Oh.
And the baby there, Philip Paul.
Yes, the wash belly.
Yes, wash belly. Yes, that's right. You know, but these people are amazing. It looks like they for some reason they think that us Jamaicans are kunumunu.
Well, I mean, you blame them?
No, yes, I do blame them. I blame them because if there were people that were thinking and were aware of where the Jamaican psyche is at this point, they would realize that the majority of us are way past that.
But look here, sir. Their non-thinking has carried them very far, you know.
Well, it has carried them very far. But you see, what you have to realize, you know, is that during the time of their not thinking, they had an ally, you know. They had an ally. They had a great ally in a man called Edward Philip George Siaga, the biggest political idiot that had ever been.
I beg your pardon.
Yeah, man.
Why do you say that?
Well, let me tell you something. When you have a man that would sit in leadership after 8 to 9 years of being prime minister, you gave away an election, okay, and then continue to insist that he is the only one that can lead the party, when he could not keep the party united. Remember, you know, Mr. Siaga had 60 seats in Parliament in the 83 election. Okay? And that was by default. But in any case...
After the 83 election?
Yes. Right?
Or what should have been the 83?
Exactly. But in any case, there were 60 members.
Yes.
His best member of Parliament that had the chances to retain their seat in the 89 election, he removed most of them because they weren't his personal favorites.
Oh.
Yeah, man, a lot of these people were removed and were replaced with people who had no chance to win their seats. Yeah, man. Let me tell you something. Mr. Siaga is a man that, you know, he had great ideas, he had great plans, he was a good manager, but he's the biggest idiot as far as politics is concerned that we have had a we have never had a political leader that is so backward politically. And the other thing is, Mr. Siaga did not understand the psyche of the Jamaican people.
Didn't he suffer from a prejudice about his color and his race?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think It seems like that. But I think he puts himself into that position. Mr. Siaga turned off most of his own people during the 80s, you know.
Yes.
This is what you have to understand. Now, a political leader who does that is committing political suicide. And he continued to hang on to the leadership even after it was gone past the state where he could ever win an election in this country. Because the first thing is Jamaican people do not like the guy who puts himself up as the ultimate, the sort of one-done leader. Okay? The business people don't like it. The average everyday person don't like it. Mr. Siaga was a political idiot, man.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. And I don't mean to be disrespectful to him or to be unkind to him because I have a lot of regard for him in other areas. But in terms of politics, he did not understand the psyche of the Jamaican people.
I'll follow you.
You know. So they had a great ally in him. You know. So all they had to do was just put him up as the JLP, because all they do is at election time they say, look, this is the JLP. This Edward Siaga is the JLP.
But one is getting the impression that he's still a bit of an ally.
Oh,
Mr. Siaga.
Well, this is what I'm telling you, because the man, he has some faults, you know. As long as you're not going along with him, whether his idea or his plans are idiotic or not, he seems to turn against you.
I follow you.
Yes.
All right, sir.
Okay, have a good day, Mr.
Thank you very much. All the best to you. Okay, hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
First time on your program.
Happy to have you.
And I'm really glad that we can pick you up now in the deep rural St. Thomas.
Oh, you're in deep rural St. Thomas?
Yes, sir.
Where?
A place named Dalby.
Oh, yes.
Mr. Perkins. We don't have any road, you know, sir.
You don't have any road?
From Bull Bay to Portland border. There is no road.
Well, what is remarkable about that, sir? You live in Jamaica?
Yes, I'm living in Jamaica, but
in rural Jamaica?
It is time I come out of the tracks. You can't carry your banana. Banana is a delicate thing, you know. So if your road is rough and you stumble with a banana, it will bruise.
Yes.
Mr. Perkins, the drivers are meeting hell, even from Bull Bay right to Portland border. And I can't understand the minister, junior minister of road and works, and you named all him the name of the ministry. Representative of Eastern St. Thomas. Mr. Perkins, do you know that St. Thomas is the only parish that don't get a touch of Highway 2000?
Highway 2000?
The new road that they're making down, sir. It coming as far as Portland.
Oh, you mean that is not Highway 2000, the North Coast Highway.
Well, Mr. Perkins, do you know that all those sand and gravel coming from St. Thomas, we can get access from these so that the parish can even benefit even with the road?
Yes. Boy, things are grim, sir. Things are grim. People are suffering like this all over the country.
Well, I know, sir, but some place getting more priority, more. Some people pay taxes in St. Thomas. All those coffee people, the people at Mr. Perkins. I believe that St. Thomas is being written off.
Is being written off?
Yes, according to what I really see, nothing is being done inside here.
Oh, Lord.
Nothing. And I'm appealing to the powers that be. Fix our main road, sir. They have a program up here, so they're doing maintenance work. You know Golden Grove, St. Thomas?
Yes, of course.
Okay. They were doing maintenance road from Golden Grove to where I live into my community. And I saw the work stop. And when I query the maintenance men, them say them have to cut it off because the road is so bad that they can't, what they are maintaining, they don't know what they are maintaining saying. This is from Golden Grove to Dalby. Mr. Perkins, can you help us in the St. Thomas area to ask what's going on? It's really, really, really bad, sir. Something must be done. Right? And I'm hoping that who is hearing and who are in the position. Help us out now, sir.
All right.
Where you going to give a driver?
I have to leave you, sir. I have to leave you now because we're on the break.
I'll call you Monday then, sir.
All right. Look forward to that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, thank you very much. We're back here online, and we have some interesting email for you.
Yes, Mr. Perkins. All of these that I'm going to read here now are from abroad, and I won't have time to read more than a couple of them. Dear Mr. Perkins, we wanted publicity from the World Cup, and we have got it, for all the wrong reasons. I watched a press conference on Sky News, and I wondered why the Commissioner of Police was not there in person to make his statement, and then hand over to Deputy Commissioner Mark Shields to elaborate and field questions. Why did Carl Angel have to read Assistant Commissioner Ellington's statement when he was sitting right there and sat for the duration, like Alice in Wonderland? While that press conference gave some information, what is astounding is what I'm seeing on Pakistan television. On Pakistan television this morning, it was reported that a non-Jamaican man had been arrested. They also say that a copy of the manuscript for Mr. Wilmot's new book was missing from his hotel room. The other piece of information brings into question the time of death. It is reported that Bob Wilmot sent an email to Pakistan at 6 a.m. Jamaica time Sunday morning. So, his death would have been between that time and when his body was discovered, sometime after 10 a.m. How is this info available in Pakistan and not in Jamaica? An astute crime scene investigator would see evidence of strangulation on the body, but the initial autopsy missed it. Members of the Pakistan delegation have criticized the hotel in the Pakistan press and said that the security at the hotel was very lax. A lot is being said abroad, while not much is being revealed in Jamaica. So far, this investigation has been a very sloppy affair, which makes us in Jamaica look inept. We are ready to end.
I don't know whether some of the things that are being said abroad are necessarily true.
Yes, and also I think it was the Commissioner of Police. Well, I don't know which press conference he's talking about.
The press conference last night. He was not there.
Oh.
No.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. A lot of very strange things are being said then. One has no means of knowing whether some of them at this point are true. Whether some of them are true.
Mr. Perkins, I am sending you an email from the Daily Mail newspaper of the 22nd from the Sports Mail section under the heading Wilmot murdered to prevent revelation about matchmaking. The gist of the point is match fixing. Sorry. The gist of the point is that the first match against the West Indies was apparently thrown because it was felt Pakistan would easily beat Ireland and Zimbabwe. When Ireland pulled off the upset, all hell broke loose.
Hold on just a moment. Okay, thank you very much. We're back. Go on.
We've got copies of reports that have appeared on CNN, Reuters, Associated Press, all of them generally saying
No, you're
the same
reading
thing.
the one from the Daily Mail.
Oh, yes. Begin again. There's an article in the Daily Mail about dealing with the match fixing angle. The first match against the West Indies was apparently thrown, according to a former fast bowler, because it felt Pakistan could easily beat Ireland and Zimbabwe. When Ireland pulled off the upset, all hell broke loose. Wilmot discovered the match fix in a match against the West Indies and was going to expose it, thus his demise. Trust me, Mr. Perkins, this is murder, and hopefully it will be exposed. Mark Shields has so far shown that he has been Jamaicanized. Enough talk without substance. Mr. Perkins, I see, are there any that the calls are not coming in, so I'll just continue. Mr. Perkins, those who are talking about reparation should consider the following. The Atlantic slave trade was the process by which an estimated 12 million Africans were taken from their homeland, enslaved and brought to the New World. Africans in the interior of Africa were primarily made slaves through tribal warfare and thus brought to the west coast of Africa, where they were placed in forts built by Africans and kept by Africans until they could get them sold to European slave traders. African tribes played a significant role in the Atlantic slave trade, in capturing Africans in the interior, and in the role of middlemen in the trading of slaves to European. Any consideration of reparation should place them at the top of the list. I'll leave the rest and leave the callers because the board is full.
Okay, all right. Okay. Hello?
Mr. P?
Yes, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Hi.
I told you that I would return.
Yeah.
But I did better than General Douglas MacArthur.
Yes.
He never returned. But your schoolmate that you was in school with returned.
Yes, indeed.
And he returned with a bang. I hear a man asking you today.
Returned with a bangarang.
A bangarang. And I hear a man was asking if you know about Pavlov's dog.
Yes.
I don't think he means to insult you. Because I can tell him that you was the man who told me about Pavlov salivating like Pavlov's dog.
Yes.
And you told me about the man who took over his father empire 13 years, Genghis Khan.
Yes.
And you told me another one when one of our MPs from Jamaica was missing in action. You told that Marco Polo traveled. You know who is Marco Polo? You know that one?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Now, I hear the most honorable talking in Parliament and says somebody's in there playing politics. Could you kindly tell me which one of the 6 members of Parliament who got in that place in Duke Street without politics?
Well,
isn't it politics?
I am amazed when I hear these politicians.
Yes.
Who
isn't it politics that get them all
subsist by playing politics?
Yes.
Right.
What sort of nonsense? Stop playing politics.
Yes, yes.
All 60 of them owe the entry into that place through politics.
Well, that's what it's about.
That's all what it's about.
Yes.
Apart from one clerk to the Parliament named Hedley Deans. The Sheriff at Arms.
Well, he's no longer there.
Hedley, yeah, he's retired. But he was a very decent gentleman.
Oh, yes.
You
was
understand?
a schoolmate of mine.
He was?
With whom I was in school.
You was in school with Hedley
Yes,
Deans?
yes.
Oh,
yes.
what a fine gentleman. Yeah, I tell you, I know him very well.
Yes.
And if I miss anything when he was there, I'd pick up the phone, call him up, and ask him if this bill went through or that bill. And Hedley Deans, man, he did his work without fear or favor, without politics. He did his work.
Yes.
The Marshal at Arms, I know him very well. I know the whole shebang and the furniture scandal where one MP signed a paper and said he signed it without looking, without reading it.
Yes, I remember.
He signed without reading it. Now, and they collect the money. Another MP up in your parish there, he bought a sink for $80,000. And somebody remarked it must be a gold sink. And then he retaliated and asked if she wants to wash her foot in it. She can come to his house.
Yes.
Now, are you a little man calling you and telling you that St. Thomas, that they forgot St. Thomas, they must have written off. St. Thomas was the man in the Bible they called Didymus. Yeah, hard believing Thomas. His nickname was Didymus. Now, what about Mary? Saint Mary. Mary was the mother of Jesus, wasn't she?
Yes.
Well, you completely forgot Mary a long time. Completely forgot Mary. So I sympathize with that man from St. Thomas. But my heart goes out to St. Mary. Believe me, I drove on a road from Richmond to John Cross Spring on Wednesday. I went to a place in Flint River to visit a young man whose father died last year and his mother died last Sunday gone. And I went to visit him. And rain fell. And there are some potholes in there. If I came out to the van and went into those holes, it would be up to my knees. You can't believe that road going to the border of St. Catherine to John Cross Spring. And the one that I just finished work on, because they're working it so pitchy-patchy from part of the road out of Rosen to Port Maria. If you see the condition of that road on the mall, when you reach our Sunside, believe me, it's hell, it's a hog hole. Only pigs would do well in those holes, because they could wallow in those holes. We are in trouble, and we have some stupidness going on. Now look at the Most Honorable said. I have day before yesterday Observer before me. Traffic Guru had Bauxite Consultancy Agreement with CCOC, says the Prime Minister.
CCOC Association.
CCOC, that is Colin Campbell.
Yes.
Yes.
Our candidate.
That is what under my people, my Observer, and I'm sure this one wasn't printed for me.
Oh, they didn't put the word association. I think she said association.
Yes.
Colin Campbell, our candidate association.
And I can't understand. And down in the bottom, when Mr. Samuda said to her, don't you think Mr. Campbell ought to resign from the Senate? She said no. She don't say no, but it's left to his guilt.
Yes.
It is left to him and his guilt. Don't you think they're making a fun out of this place?
Well.
They are making a fun out of it, Mr. Perkins. You better believe it. Because there's some questions there that the Most Honorable answered. And she gave me two stories. One of the things, you see, liars must understand, is that if you're telling a lie, you must be consistent with it. Don't keep changing your story. If I did that at school, my headmaster would call me and say, no, you're giving me two stories. Which one is the right one?
Yes.
And he would give me a caning. He would cane me. And if I go home and complain to my father, he'll be down there and give me another caning before the class. You understand? You get your stories right. Don't try to play a fool up. And that is what is happening in the Parliament of the land, Mr. P.
Well, what are these two stories?
Well, if it's a bauxite agreement, if it's some bauxite agreement, and the next one is a donation. You understand?
Yes.
Which one is the right one?
True.
Is it a donation or it's an agreement with bauxite? What is it? Which one really is it?
Well, an agreement with Colin Campbell with CCOC.
And you start talking about
CCOC Association.
Yes. Wrong Jungle says is an affiliate of the PMP. CCOC is an affiliate of the PMP. That's what he says. It was donation through them to the PMP. Well, it just brings me to the conclusion what anything that will lead us or cause us to be in power is the right thing.
Yes,
because what kind of stupidness that is.
Well, that is Mr. Pickersgill's position.
Yes.
And that of the party.
And you must tell the Most Honorable, you must listen to our Minister of Education who says politics is about who gets what, when, and how.
Yes, indeed.
She never heard that statement because she wasn't Prime Minister at the time.
Indeed.
She better
All right,
research it.
Thank you very much,
Thank you very much.
Let's see whether we can get in another. Oh, Lord, they've hung up. Oh, Lord, sorry about that. We lost them. Okay, we're looking forward to the weekend, and what new we'll hear over the weekend. There's a story reported in the Pakistani media, I believe, that somebody, a non-Jamaican, has been arrested here in Jamaica in connection with the Mr. Wilmot's death. If true, one expects to... I wonder whether there's going to be a press conference again this afternoon. Maybe. If that has happened, maybe there will be. And we'll hear who the person is that was arrested, if that story is correct. Okay, in any event, we expect to hear something more over the weekend, don't we? Okay, that brings us then to the end of Perkins Online for today and indeed for the week. Wish you a happy weekend, and we look forward to being back here with you on Monday. Usual time, usual place.